What a crowd. It's great to see everybody. I say this every year, but it's so true. It's crazy how fast a summer goes, and we're back at it. But excited to be here in front of you guys. I'm excited for you guys to get an early glimpse of our roster in Cook after this is over. I think that you will once again find a team that is very much together. Their chemistry is really, really good. We have brought in some new faces, both on our team and on our roster, and as well as our staff. And so we've had a little bit of a makeover. I wouldn't say a huge makeover, but a little bit of one. And we're excited for the season to start. I know it's next week we'll start our official practice, but we've been going, as most teams have been, about 3 times a week for our group. And to say that this group is ready would be an understatement. I had Jules and Lamondola was in my office today, and we were just talking about her growth over the summer, the strides that she's made, and she said, I just can't wait for it to really start. So next week, it'll start for us. So good to be here. Happy to answer whatever question you guys might have. But glad to see everybody. And really appreciate you guys coming out.
Questions for Coach?
Teri, it's kind of an obvious one. You talk about a little bit of a makeover. How important are players like Sydney, like Chloe, that especially I know last year you had the foreign tour. This summer, when some things change, you have those veterans that can talk about what's expected, what's required. Some of that stuff just comes a little more natural to
Sure. Well, we know that Chloe and Sid are, 2 of our leaders in that locker room for our entire team. But, I have to tell you that being able to recruit both Shay and Caroline Strickland from Tennessee, I can't tell you those 2 kids have really, the transition that they've made has been seamless into our team. And, I think it does start at the top with, with Chloe and Sid establishing what our standards are and what our program is about. But it also takes those guys that want to come in and be a part of that, because as we all know, every program does things differently. We feel like we do things differently here in Indiana in terms of our expectations and what that's going to look like, the standards, the work ethic, all of it being about each other. And, we had to find 2 special people in Shay and Caroline that could come in and really fit in from the jump. And these are two women that at Penn State, Shay had a big role. Caroline had a big role at Tennessee, and so for them to come in and walk into a team that's already has some talent, with Yarden and Chloe and Sid, and you got Jules and Bo and Lily and Lexi, all who had a lot of playing time last year. We had to find the right fit for us, and I think we hit it out of the park with Shay and Strip.
Hey, Teri, what have you seen from Shay over the offseason that has you so excited about having her on the team?
She's a bulldog. I mean, that's only the best way to describe her. She's she's a gym rat. She's ate up with the game. You can't, she's in there all the time, which again, we talk about being in the gym, doing more than what's required here is not just an expectation. It's become a lifestyle for our players. And she was looking for that. She was searching for a place where, being in a gym was not just going to be her, right? She was going to have other teammates that were going to be in there, that we're going to be training, and so she's smart. She's a smart, high IQ basketball player. She's relentless on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of that had to do with the way they played at Penn State a year ago and their pressing and trying to be relentless defensively. And so she's brought that kind of mindset, which is good. She's a communicator. She's mature. She's all the things that you want in a kid that's going to join your team. with her experience. And I think, she's just going to add to the leadership that's already in the locker room, because I think she has a lot of miles on her legs in terms of the experience, that she's been able to have. But she's been great. And I know this. I think once you talk to her, I think she's really happy with the decision that she made to come here. Jim. Hi, Jim.
Teri, you talked about the new pieces you've added and the right fit. And over these years where you've turned Indiana women's basketball into one of the powers of the women's game, was there a point where you learned that fit was more important than talent?
Yeah, no doubt. We learned that lesson, I think, early, when we got here, that fit is so important to what you're trying to do when you're trying to build a program. And, because I do believe you can find those highly competitive, character players. You just gotta dig a little deeper. You gotta ask better questions in the recruiting process. You have to paint a really vivid picture of what it's going to be like to be here, be a student athlete here, and that's with the parents as well. But especially with those kids, I think you can find those kids. Because there's so many of those young guys that want to say they like being in the gym, but do they really like being in the gym, right? And when I say lifestyle, that's what it is around here. I mean, we do that because we found by doing that, we've been able to build a program. And so doing more than what's required will always be a piece of the recipe. You certainly got to find those skilled players. There's no doubt you have to have talent. But I do think that there's still players out there that, and look, we're in a different era of women's basketball. It's very much kind of like the men, but not like the men in terms of the money. I mean, these guys, the men that come to Indiana, have those expectations of playing in the NBA. Well, our girls aren't any different. I mean, they all want to play in the W. They all want to have professional careers afterwards. And so, the women's game has changed that much that now, and I think a lot of it has to do with the success we have had. But a lot of these kids just want to go to a player development, place. And, that's the one thing that we try to set ourselves apart. We feel like our skill development here, getting in the trenches with those players and helping them develop. And the proof is always in the statistics, right? You can go back and you can look at Grace Berger, some freshman, sophomore, junior, and that's how we that's part of the recruiting conversation. That there's evidence here that how we do things works for our players.
We'll go Mike and then Skip and then Tom.
Yeah, Teri, when you talk about finding the players, how did you kind of land on Shay and Caroline? Were they players you had seen and knew, kind of kept tabs on? Was it, talking to coaches in the professional? Like what kind of got you on them initially and attracted you to them?
Well, a year ago, obviously playing Penn State, you're very familiar with Shay, and just the player, her ability to shoot it, but also, how much she values defense as well. And then, we were able to play. We've had Tennessee on our schedule for the last couple of years. So being able to see Strip and watch her and prep against her, knowing that, she was a 5 that not only stature-wise, build-wise, experience-wise, but also could pick and pop. She has the ability to knock down shots from the outside. So there were two young ladies that certainly familiar with, but everybody else in the country wanted them as well. So, it became, where we, it was recruiting them all over just like we would freshmen, trying to establish a relationship. It's like speed dating. That's exactly what it was. I mean, we had to really, get on them early and quick and establish a relationship. And Caroline's was a little bit easier. She was interested in because, I think she knew a lot about our style of play and how she would fit into our style of play. Shay was a little bit more of a challenge just because, kids like her are hard. Everybody wants a shooter, right? Everybody wants a shooter on their roster, and so she was a little bit more challenging. But give Allie Patberg credit. She was, stayed on her and built a really good relationship, with her, and we made it really hard for her to say no.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Skip.
Happy
Where you
fall.
at, Skip? Back there. Okay.
Back here.
Yep.
You've had some staff change up here in the off season. Can you talk about what some of the roles might be, and specifically how Mackenzie here is going to be able to make an impact?
Well, we've had it. Let's start from not just Mackenzie, but we do have 3 graduate assistants that work with us. From a year ago, we added Mackenzie. Lauren Fields is another young lady that played at West Virginia, had a lot of success there. Maddie Green has been with us, so she's going into her 2nd season. Isaiah Specs had been in one of those roles, but then we moved him into a player development role, so he's been pretty significant this summer in working in that role for us from a player development standpoint. And then we brought back Kiana Worthen, who's going to be another one of our coaches on the floor. Obviously played for me, I feel like many years ago. But it's pretty cool to have Key and Allie and Mac, in the suite upstairs on the floor. 2 kids that can speak to the culture, can speak to the atmosphere, to speak to what it's like to be a student athlete here, a basketball player, what we're like, what I'm like, the expectations, and how they can speak to their experience. And that goes a long way, especially with the parents. When you have former players that want to come back and they want to be a part of this place, want to be a part of your program, I think that speaks volumes to, the things that we've been able to do right, by our players.
Tom and then Seth.
Teri, in a half dozen years or so, you've been real successful with the stuff you've run offensively and defensively and such. But I'm curious, when you spend a lot of the summer with national team and around other great coaches and that, are you a type of tinkerer that likes drawing up plays on napkins and thinking about different offensive sets or defensive schemes?
Yeah, I love that's, part of the, the great thing about being a part of USA Basketball was always being able to spend time with Jose Fernandez, who's out South Florida, and Neil Ivey, who's at Notre Dame, amongst other coaches that are part of the committee. There's a lot of dinners after tryouts where you're just talking ball, which is one of my favorite things to do. Do I like to? Yeah, for the last probably 4 or 5 years, we haven't had to tinker. I've tried to just, let our players do a lot of the things that we'd already, especially when you have a young lady like Mackenzie who you can do so much with, and a kid like Sarah Scalia that can shoot it, but also those other shooters that we brought in. We know this, we're going to have to play a little bit differently, without Mackenzie. All of us have a tremendous amount of confidence in Lily Meister. We really do. We think that she's going to be special here for us the next, couple seasons. But, it has forced us to go back and look at some film, how we do want to play differently. I think one of the things you see when you have the experience of going to Spain, going to Colombia, going to Argentina, a lot of these international teams, just the movement alone, body movement alone, how they play, how they pass, all of it. When you recruit, when you're prepping for it, you think about things that you can bring back, and certainly can we do some of those things. The difference between those guys over there, though, they do it from the time that they're small to the time that they're 17, 18, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. So that's the way they play. But it does open your eyes to a whole different kind of, style of basketball. And for us, we've tinkered all summer with some 5-out, some Princeton style, trying to take Lily away from the low block, and really allow our guards to just read and react to how they're being guarded. And we've had a lot of fun with it. I think our kids are excited about it. They're excited because it does give them a tremendous amount of freedom. And as I've always said to them, I'll give you as much freedom as you want as long as we're taking great care of the ball. We value the ball, and our turnovers are low, and we're taking good shots and shots that make sense to our team. Yeah, we've had a lot of great conversations upstairs in our office just about some things we want to do differently, offensively, and some things we're going to tweak a little bit defensively.
Teri, Sydney entering her third and final year with you, just what's allowed her to really blossom and thrive at Indiana, and how impactful has it been for the program to bring in this Indiana native from the portal and have her play such a big role here?
Well, Sid has said it more than one occasion, Seth, how excited she is just to be back, right, in a system, in an environment where, she found her love, for this game, and restored it, I guess, is a better way to put it. But it's been fun to have her back. Sid is a high IQ kid. Sid is a great communicator. She's going to be fantastic when she's done, because this is the area, this is her space, with media, being on the sidelines. This is what she wants to do. But to have her come back and for her to be an Indiana kid, has been great for us, great for our program. Sid has always been about her team. A couple years ago, remember, I think back to Sid when she first got here, and I had to bring her off the bench. I had to make a really difficult decision because we really had 6 starters, and it was who were we gonna bring off the bench to give us that extra punch, and it just happened to be Sid and how she handled herself with so much maturity, and it was all about just doing what we needed her to do, and then certainly Grace goes down and she gets into the lineup, and so, she's been great. She really has, and she represents this university and our program in such a great way. She's sort of become the face, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that she's a native, and she's a Hoosier, and a lot of people know Sid, and she gives, and she gives back as much as people want to give her attention and want to speak to Sid and take pictures with Sid. I mean, she's the first one to put her arm around one of those little girls out there and spend some time with them. And so she's been a great addition.
Hey, Teri, just what's the next step for Yarden? What do you want to see from her? What more can she do?
Well, I think for Yarden, I think she has to get. I don't know that there is another step for her. I mean, I think the one thing about Yarden is Yarden has to continue to, I think, be super aggressive for us offensively. She has to be able to use her length better defensively because, she's not as quick, and she knows this, but she does have long arms and high IQ, understands where she needs to be, when she needs to be there. But I do think, obviously, if there's something she needs to improve on, it's still, defensively and being able to guard, for us. But, offensively, the thing about Yarden, because she's such a high IQ kid and so skilled and talented, is that, we were talking about tinkering with offenses. She's a kid that you can put anywhere. And she doesn't need a lot of reps. And so, inside of our offense, even a year ago when we wanted to kind of put her at the pinch, she's not a kid that you're going to have to spend 2 straight days of putting her there for her to understand what we're trying to do. I mean, she naturally understands, what we're trying to do in certain actions, but also can make plays that you may be off script just because of her IQ. And so, she needs to be more of a scoring threat for us. We lost a lot, with the graduation of Mackenzie and Sarah. I don't know what that percentage is, but they scored a lot of points for us, and so her scoring's going to have to go up. But I want to see her defense improve too.
Hey, Coach, you talked about how players come here to play in the WNBA. How nice is it to have an example like Grace Berger just up the road from you for a team and a recruiting standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, it's great, for us. And we'd like to see Grace play a little bit more. But, I know it's difficult. It's always, I think people that are on the outside, not on the inside, think it's pretty easy, and it's never easy. And so, but we're certainly proud, of Grace, and she deserved every bit of what she was able to accomplish here, and then the opportunity to be drafted. She's going to go over and have a great, when the season's done here, she's going to go over to Turkey and continue her professional career over there. So we're super proud. When she came back during the Olympic break, it was great to have her back in the gym in front of those kids where they're watching, a pro workout and just watching her pace that she goes at. And Isaiah had an opportunity to work her out, and that was probably one of the highlights of his career, was being able to work Grace Berger out. So really proud. But, we got another one in MAC. We were a little bit surprised that Sarah Scalia didn't, come off that, or wasn't on the board as well, because I felt like she had last year proved that she was, if she wasn't the best shooter in the country, I don't know who was, but still, she's over in Italy having a great pro career as well. So we want there to be more, of those guys that are either playing in the league or are playing, somewhere professionally.
Hey, Coach. Over here. Hi.
I couldn't see you back there.
All good. I'm way back here. I know Lexus switched up her shot a little bit this summer.
Yeah.
How much have you seen that either affect her confidence or change up her game?
Well, again, if you get to watch it, and I think somebody leaked a photo of it, it has changed. It's tweaked. It looks really really good. I think she's worked extremely hard, and there's a reason why we have a sign in our cook hall that it says your confidence can only come from your work. And it looks good. I think she's trying to and she feels good about it. It's just her being consistently ready to catch and shoot beyond the arc. And she knows this. I mean, she has to be able to hit one or two of those for us. A year ago, it was, her player seemed to, if they were going to pick off or, tend to not guard anybody. They had to pick somebody. You had Mac in the middle. You had all those other great shooters on the outside. Sometimes you have to roll the dice, and it seemed like that teams were willing to roll the dice and maybe sit in the paint a little bit longer when they were guarding Lex. And she knew that, so she became a great cutter for us. She became, we put her in that dunker spot a couple times. She did whatever we needed her to do, and I thought she had a great sophomore season. But now that she's really worked hard this summer on that shot, I think that she's going to, be more than somebody that, other opponents are going to have to guard, and that's a good thing for us. But we're really, really proud of her because she's really worked hard, and it looks good.
Yeah, Teri, Chloe's been a player that's really improved basically every year she's been here.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you kind of see her confidence level and mentality heading into this year?
Well, she knows it's it. This is it for her. So, as far as her confidence, Chloe, every year I feel like her confidence has grown a little bit more. And so, she reminds me a lot that this is my last season, and she wants to make the best out of it, whatever that looks like. She wants to lead this basketball team. She's a constant voice inside of practice, in our huddles, whether that's wisdom, whether that's advice, whether that's encouragement. She provides it all, but that's what you would expect her to do, being as old as she is. But I think she's excited. Excited for two reasons. Excited that she gets to come back here and have the opportunity to play an extra year, and excited that her class load is not as hard.
Teri, you mentioned Lily Meister and some of the things that you feel that she gives you the ability to do. What are some of the, in the way she interacts with her teammates and the way her game is, what are some of the subtle things that differentiate her from Mackenzie? Because we're so used to seeing the way Mackenzie handles the post.
Right.
How does Lily change that?
Well, I mean, two different kinds of players, but still, productive. I think one of the things that Lily can provide for us is protection at the rim. I think that she understands how to move laterally and protect the rim for us. And she can block shots without fouling, I think, which is important. She's a good athlete. I think she's a tremendous passer from the pinch post area. Has a really good feel. Anytime you're playing the way we're trying to play with some of that Princeton style stuff, that 5 out, you have to have a 5 that can distribute it and has a good feel for the game. But then, she's proven that she's a steady scorer on the low block with her back to the basket. Someone that's gotten a lot of reps doing that. And, she had to certainly play against Mackenzie every single day. And so defensively, she got better, having to do that day in and day out. But on the other side of that, she was also going against Mac offensively. And so she had to learn to score in different ways. We're going to utilize her in different ways. Not that she's not going to be down there with her back to the basket, but she provides a lot. And the thing about Lily is she's a pleaser. She wants to do all the right things, and she's a great teammate, super positive, very steady. She's very steady in terms of how she sees the game, how she plays the game. Obviously they always want to do all the right things, but she's not a kid that, like I said, doesn't get too low, doesn't get too high. She just kind of stays right there in the middle, which is why I love that in her.